Hey guys, in this series, I'm going to teach you how to cook for the week. And it really all starts with the shopping. So what I'm trying to think of is like, I want to go to the store once, that's every Sunday night, go to the store, get your groceries for the week. So that you're going to start by going down the meat aisle, right? So we're going to start with your protein. I got chicken, you're going to want about 3 pounds, you want about 8 ounces a meal. So I got 1.5 pounds of chicken, we're going to have 2 to 3 meals with that. I got 1 pound of beef. We're going to have 2 meals with that. And then I got some salmon. It's about 12 ounces. We're going to have 1, maybe plus a snack, or you could make 2 meals out of that. I bought some bacon. For those of you who like bacon, we'll add some flavor to a couple dishes. And then we're going to get our produce. So think about produce as greens, like spinach for sauteing or nice greens for salad. And then harder vegetables like broccoli, green beans, zucchini that we're going to use throughout the week. Just get your favorite ones. You can get them in these bags a lot easier. Things that are pre-cut. You don't have to do everything from scratch, right? So that's our produce. And you always want your staples, your avocados if you like avocados, tomatoes, bell peppers, and don't forget, I love cilantro if you like, Mexican style food, thyme, marjoram. Get some nice herbs to spice it up and make your food a little more exciting. Then we need to look at starches. So I got some potatoes. I got some pre-cooked rice. These actually just come in little bags. It's going to save us some time. So we have these, boom. You don't have to make everything from scratch. The other starches I love is like quinoa is another great one. Now that we've got our produce and our meats and some starches, we want to make sure we're refilling the pantry. The pantry are all those items that are shelf stable that sit in the cupboard. So make sure you've got avocado oil and olive oil, and you need to have some chicken broth as standard. Again, with Mexican food, some refried beans, your onions, some cheese, some butter. So that's sort of your pantry that you're always going to just kind of be refilling. Then the last thing I want you to think about is like flavors. I want to have, maybe I get some pesto or some olive tapenade or some salsa, hummus, tzatziki. So you can get these, which you can add flavor. You put a scoop on at the end of the meal and kind of spice your meal up. So that's the basics of setting your week up. Now, we're going to have a download with this, which you're going to get the exact ingredients you're going to need. But my objective is to teach you how to start thinking more intuitively about cooking. Because if you have a recipe, you want to be ad lib a little bit, right? And this is the basics of how to shop. Think of those 4 categories: meat, produce, starches, and your pantry. Now that we're done shopping, let's start cooking. We're going to cook dinner for tonight, but I want you to think about the week ahead. We want to cook our starches tonight. So we're going to do quinoa. The rice, if I bought this already cooked and frozen, but you could cook some rice and keep it in the refrigerator for the week. The same with the quinoa. We're going to roast off the potatoes, and we're going to make some caramelized onions. This is going to save us time throughout the week. The first night you're home with our groceries, we're going to cook the fish because the fish is going to go bad quickest. So we're going to start with salmon tonight. We're going to make it with some kale, and we're going to wrap it with bacon. And then we're going to have your choice of starches that we're going to cook off. So first, let's go in. I'm going to show you how to prepare these onions, quinoa, and the roast potatoes. So the first trick I'm going to show you guys is how to make caramelized onions. You're going to make this once every week or 2, and you can caramelize the onions and just put them in the refrigerator. So you're just going to take your onions, cut the bottom off, slice it in half, peel the skin. You put one little cut through it what we're trying to do is keep it all the same size essentially, right? And then you're going to cut it without cutting all the way through. Just leave a little bit up the top, and then you're just going to slice, moving the knife down and forward to get a nice dice. So we're just going to dice up all these onions, leave them on this pad, and then you can just scoop them into your pan. So first, slice your onions, then we're going to go to the stove. So to caramelize your onions, we're going to use a little avocado oil. You can also use olive oil. But I like the avocado because it's not going to impart a lot of flavor. I'm going to use a little bit of chicken broth. The chicken broth is going to help break these onions down. So first we're just going to cook it. We're going to cook it at about 7, medium-high heat. We have our onions, a little bit of broth, and then we're going to also add some butter. So we want to make sure we have oil or butter of some fat of some sort that you like to cook in. And you can use just plain water. I use some chicken broth, which is going to add a nice little flavor. So we're just going to let that cook medium-high, and we're just going to let this keep brown and caramelize down until it's caramelized onions. So now we're going to just simply cook our, these are just baby potatoes. We've got some boiling water. I'm going to take some kosher salt, nice pinch. It should taste, if you really want to know, it should taste like seawater. So I'm just going to take my potatoes and I'm going to put them in here. It's probably about 10 to 15 minutes until they're soft. 10 minutes, we're going to put this on high, boil them, and it's that simple. All right, guys, so we're multitasking. We got our potatoes, our onions cooking, and I'm just going to show you, we're going to start with salmon tonight. So it's very simple. Piece of salmon. We're actually going to wrap it in bacon. We're going to put some salt and pepper, and then we're going to saute it in the olive oil. This is going to actually, we're going to pan roast it, meaning we're going to start on the stove, and then we're going to move to the oven. So remember, you got to turn on your oven like 10 minutes before. So we just turned on the oven to 350. Simple. So we're going to start with the simple stuff. We're going to prepare the meat. We're going to put a nice bit of salt. How much salt? Well, if you put too much salt, you're going to know to put less salt on next time. I'm going to wrap this in bacon because I know I have some guys out there that can never get enough bacon. So I'm just going to take 2 strips of bacon and I'm going to wrap it with bacon. And I am going to use, I love thyme. If you don't have thyme, don't worry. I'm just taking some fresh thyme. So I'm trying to encourage you to use some fresh herbs, just a little bit of herbs. I have some diced onions if you like. And we're just going to go to the stove and we're going to get this grill basically just seared on the stove top, and then we're going to throw it in the oven and pan roast it. We're going to start by putting some avocado oil in the pan. Be generous, guys. Don't skimp on us. And you want your pan hot first. So make sure it's hot. Do not put your meat into a cold pan. So we're just going to take this very gently. We're going to saute it on one side for just a minute, and then we're just going to flip it over. I love to put some onions in with it to cook. That's just some fresh onions. So we're going to want to roast this in the oven, right? It's raw in the middle. We're just getting a little color on one side. Flip it over once, and it goes in the oven. Let's give it about 10 minutes, and then we're going to check the temperature. So our onions have started to caramelize. You say, oh no, they're burnt. No, yeah, you can burn them a little bit. But basically, we're going to want to move them around. Now, if you get stuck, if it starts to stick to the pan, right? Because you want the moisture to evaporate. It won't start caramelizing until the liquid has evaporated. So what we're going to do is make sure it's not sticking. If you don't put enough oil in here, it's going to stick. But if some of the sugars get a little stuck, you can pour a little bit more of your chicken broth, or you can use water, and that will clean the pan off, right? I'm going to move it around and kind of help it clean the pan. And then I'm just going to put it back here and let it continue to caramelize. We're probably about halfway there. So we have our potatoes boiling here. Let me pull them off for a sec. I'm just going to stick a knife in here to see if they're soft enough. And yes, they are. You don't want them blowing up and breaking apart, because then they're going to get really mashy. So I'm just going to strain these. Oh, look at that. Now I can actually hear, listen. Can you hear that? You hear that pop and crackle? That is the oil we're frying this now. You can hear, you listen to your food. So look how nice and brown and caramely that is now. That is caramelized onions. And we're just going to put this in a little Tupperware for the week. And we're going to use this throughout the week as we cook to save time and add delicious caramelized flavor to everything we make. So I boiled our potatoes until they're soft. And we can actually have these for dinner tonight. Maybe take some hot ones and then just smash them a little bit with a fork, right? Just kind of a rustic style potato. See if I can just show you. I'm just smashed them a little bit. I'm going to add some butter. If you like thyme, you can add some thyme. I love thyme. So we're going to add our butter, just a touch of thyme, a little bit of pepper and salt. I got those backwards. And that's simple enough. So right there, you have a nice potato side dish. I'm also going to show you, we're taking these same potatoes, maybe they're left over from yesterday. They've just boiled it. We're just going to cut them in half real quick. And the reason we're going to cut them in half is it's going to leave a side open to kind of brown up on the pan with the butter and the oil. And these we're just going to do some roast potatoes. So we just take our roast potatoes, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. It's essential that you put oil on these, and a fair amount, a lot of oil. Just think of this as like your French fries, but we're just going to have yummy roast potatoes. You can also put some butter in there too. I'm just going to take a couple slices, add that, and some fresh thyme. And I'm just going to mix it up here, and then we're just going to throw this into the oven and let this roast. You can do a pound or two of these at a time and just leave them in your refrigerator and eat them throughout the week. But here, very simply, we can have some mashed potatoes tonight, or we can do the roast potatoes. Now, one other I'll mention, you could put some cream in here if you like, but I find that just some butter, salt, and pepper is a beautiful mashed potato. So we're just going to take these potatoes, we're going to put them in the oven at 350, and I'd say it started about 20 minutes, but you're just going to come back and check on them in about 20 minutes. All right, we're going to make our quinoa, which is super difficult. We're basically just going to turn on our pan. We're going to take one box, this is 4 cups of chicken stock. Really simple. We're going to add some of our caramelized onions. This is not mandatory, but it adds a nice rich flavor. A pinch of salt, just a little bit. And 1 pound of quinoa, 1 bag. We're going to put it in there. Give it a good stir because we want to make sure this breaks up. We don't want it to be all clumpy. You can put it on high to get it to boil, and then we're just going to put it on a low temp for about 20 minutes, and it's going to be ready. And you're going to have quinoa all week long. So while our salmon's roasting, we're going to want to get our vegetable ready. Now, we're going to do some kale. I bought a bag of kale. Generally, you're going to get this, not in a bag, but I thought it was nice and convenient. So you can see these are kind of long and thin. Generally, I'm going to cut once or twice through to make sure I kind of break down the size. And then I'm going to just slice it pretty thin all the way through. Now also note, I changed the cutting board. I was using meat on the last one, and I just threw it in the sink and got a clean board. I love to have like 5 of these always on hand. And also note, we're just going to cut through. I don't like to use the very end. Usually that's kind of tough or dry. If there's parts of it that you don't like, don't use it. So I just keep it on the board, and I'll move this over to cook. All right, we have our kale that's been chopped, ready to go. So we want to make sure our pan gets hot first. We're just going to put some olive oil in there, and you can put some raw onion, or in this case, I have some caramelized onion, save some time. We got our nice hot pan. We're going to put our kale in. Now, if I just saute this, it's not going to break down very easily. So if I put some chicken stock here, not way too, just maybe about a quarter cup, just enough to make it start to boil. So I'm going to now let this simmer off. That liquid is going to break down the kale in about 3 or 4 minutes. So now you can see that all of the liquid's cooked off, and this kale is ready to serve. So we're going to check on our salmon now. I'm just going to stick it in my thermometer. You always need to check the temp. It's beautiful, just 145. We don't want to overcook it, and we also don't want to undercook it. So that's the perfect temperature, 145. So let's check on our quinoa. Woo, it's beautiful. Look at that. What you want to do is it should just be flaky and soft and pillowy, just kind of like a rice. This is just beautiful and perfect. And we're going to go ahead and pack that into a little Tupperware, and you're going to be able to use it throughout the week. So our potatoes have been in here about 20 minutes, and oh my God, look at those, gorgeous. These are going to be even tastier than those French fries you get from MCD. So look at those, beautiful. You want to see that nice brown. There's a little herb, plenty of oil in the pan, and these we're just going to put away, and either we're going to eat tonight or you can save them for your next meal. All right, so now we have our beautiful salmon right out of the oven. I'm going to take about half of that and put that on the plate. Now you can serve this up nicely. I can put a little bit of the onions. I love the onions, and a little bit of the oil from the pan. Yum, yum, yum. So we start with our protein, always center of the plate. Then I have our kale, which we're going to put on next door. And these just simple boiled and smashed potatoes. And then if it's date night and you want to get fancy for your honey, you can put a nice little sprig of thyme on it, and boom, there is dinner tonight. So now we've eaten our yummy salmon, and we're going to keep this because guess what? We're going to be making tacos or salad with this later in the week. We can keep those nice onions and the oil flavor, and then we're going to pack the leftover kale. Now this might be lunch for you tomorrow, or we're going to save that and we're going to make another meal out of it.